Good to have you on the show. My name is Omobola Stephen, and welcome to Live Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. On Live Well Lived, we like to focus on personal development and self-improvement topics. We occasion experts and professionals who are hardened in these topics, who share disruptive mindship conversations on the personal development and self-improvement. Now, personal development and self-improvement is a lifelong process that we must all embrace in our life in order for us to transform from where we are to where we need to be. Now, it's worth the effort at the end of the day if we don't give up on personal development and also self-improvement. Today, I have a guest on the show with me who is an executive coach and an advisor to leaders in tech and in engineering. She's Kathy Hadizadeh. Welcome to Live Well Lived. I'm Omobola Stephen.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks for joining me on the show. And I'm looking forward to a great time. We will be talking about how learning to slow down enhances decision-making for executives and also for other people, right? I'm looking forward to a great time once again. Let's begin with this. Why is it important to learn to quieten the mind of executives?
One of the most important things that I want to invite the audience to pay attention to is that you become an executive because of your ability to make decisions. So the higher up that you go, and that's the way to go up higher, is to prove that you're able to make bigger, bolder decisions that impact more and more people. And that is why your ability to make decisions that land to the productive outcomes in a way that does not burn you out is absolute necessity for anybody who is in the higher role.
Right. So still talking about, you mentioned a burnout. We know that executives go through a lot of, stress and, in decision making, because we really want to make the right decision at the right time. So it's very important for us to demonstrate calm and optimism. Now, in terms of when these leaders or executives face a crisis situation, how can they demonstrate calm and optimism in such a situation?
First of all, you have to understand our brain is not designed in a way that we can just jump in and say, oh, if a crisis happens, what do I do? We need to be able to train and develop our brain in a way that it is crisis ready. So there is a Stanford scientist who has a really famous and successful podcast, Andrew Huberman, and I think this week he wrote something on his LinkedIn that we can all learn from it. He said, when you expose yourself to difficult situations and challenges before they arise, you are allowing your brain to learn how to act in those situations. And I really think everybody needs to learn from that before a crisis arises and you're like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? At that time, if your brain is not trained for it, you definitely will not be able to think well and to make a good decision. So it is important that you focus on learning and developing those muscles in the brain that is required for you to be able to be calm and collected when a crisis arises. So in a nutshell, I want to say you need to proactively train your brain. It is like wanting to go and run a marathon, and you come to me and say, I'm planning to run a marathon end of this week. And I would be like, I don't think you can do that. And this is understandable for people because people understand for a marathon, you have to train, you have to prepare your body, you have to condition your body. But that same notion is not understandable or is not as clear to people because people do not see their brains and do not think about the capacity of their brain and how it can be developed and changed.
So right now that you emphasize, training our brain, do you have any strategies or any tools that it can help by? Or let's also talk about mindfulness. How can it also help leaders build competitive edge? Now I'm asking two in one question here.
So basically, the idea is that in order to be able to train your brain to work in a more collected and calm way under pressure, you need to train these certain areas of the brain that are for longer term decision making, because our brain is designed that whenever we are under stress, under threat, that it jumps to acting really fast. So you have to train the brain that not everything that we see is a threat. And even if it is a threat, can I examine it first to see if it is an actual threat before I jump into an action? And so that is why this jumping into action mentality, it can hurt us, because we will perceive anything as something that merits action. Whereas we are going to learn to slow down and examine things and see, okay, is this really something I need to take action on right now? Is this really a threat? Or can I stay with it and see what action do I want to take? So one thing we need to pay attention to is the similarity between what I said in training the brain in this way and the concept of mindfulness. Mindfulness is paying attention in the present moment with curiosity and kindness. So that paying attention to the present moment with curiosity, it cannot happen if we are all the time making action and all the time on the go, because then we will not have time to look into something and become curious. That is not possible. So that's why mindfulness practice can be a fundamental training for the brain in the way that we described earlier.
Thanks for that, Kathy Hadizadeh. We're still talking about managers and executives. So the importance of decision-making can never or cannot be overemphasized. So how can we strengthen decision-making skills for managers and executives alike?
One thing that is important in decision making is to be able to assess the situation. So people are very good at probably gathering some data, some information, but the important thing is to be able to gather those data and information and look at the big picture and be able to see what is the impact of their long term of the decision that they are making, not just thinking in the short term or in this interval of time that they are dealing with. And after they have deliberated and they have really thought over the decision with their mind, it is important to be able to connect with their gut too. So a lot of times, especially in the Western world, we are trained to look at the data, which is great, to look at the heuristics and all the evidence that is out there, which is fantastic to be able to make sense of it. But there is another layer, then a lot of people miss that, that we cannot always just rely on the data. We sometimes need to be able to trust on our gut, on what we feel is right, and be able to act on that. And that's the piece that a lot of people are missing. There is a movie on Netflix that might be interesting for people, that in that movie there it is a very hectic hedge fund kind of environment, that they are making decisions about millions of dollars and the return of investment for their investors. And there is a point in that movie that the protagonist in that movie, one of the protagonists, decides to trust her gut against all the data that she has. And she gets a handsome win for that and gets rewarded greatly for it. But that shows that how trusting your gut is such an important factor, even in such a thing as a hedge fund or investment banking, which there is a lot of data involved in it.
Katie, you are a female leader in tech and an executive coach. So what is your story like? I'd like you to share that with my audience. And what advice do you have for women leaders?
I have worked in tech and engineering for 15 years. And one thing that has been dominant, at least in those years that I worked for corporate America, was there are a lot less women. And a lot of times I could be the only woman in the room. Um, and it can be very daunting sometimes, because you sometimes want to be able to just even have a chat with somebody in a work space in a way that if for example, if you're a woman and you're pregnant, you might be experiencing something that you want to share with your coworker during the day. But if you are a woman surrounded by male colleagues, that might not be an opportunity available to you. So women always used to have, I don't know about now as much, because I'm not in the corporate world right now, but I don't think the statistics have shifted that greatly. It is important to understand and hold your grounds and be able to have a support system for yourself. And if that support system is not available in your work environment immediately, you need to build that support system for yourself outside of your work, a network of trusted people that you can share what you feel, what is going on, what are your struggles. And if you can have trusted people that can give you feedback, you have hit the jackpot. Because as the statistics shows, people and research shows, people are not always having access to external awareness, meaning how they are perceived by other people in their work environment. And that is a very key piece to success and going up the ladder for any leader in organizations.
Right. So what does it mean for leaders to leave their legacy? Any insight?
Sure. It is very important that we understand what are our values, what is our purpose. And once we have found our purpose, we need to see if the way we are leading, is it in line with the kind of things that we want to be said about us. So one way I ask people is that imagine that you are not in the room, and it is, I don't know, 5 years or a year or whatever it is since you have been leading a team or a group or an organization. And imagine, what do you want to be said about you? How do you want to be remembered for your leadership, for the impact on people's lives? Because leaders not only deliver for the organizations, but they are leading a group of talent. And leading a group of talent means that you're impacting their lives, you're impacting how they see the world, how they come to their families at the end of the day. So there is a lot that is going on in there if we look at it in this lens, and we can decide if we want to be the leader that when a person goes to their home, they go and say, "Oh my God, I have the most understanding boss," or we want to be the leader that the person goes home and thinks that, "I'm so glad another day is over." So we need to understand what impact do we want to leave on people's hearts and minds. We need to understand what impact we want to leave with our work in the world, meaning that we need to be aligned with the mission of the companies or industries that we work with them. A brilliant example is this movie Oppenheimer that recently opened in the movie theaters. Oppenheimer was a brilliant man. There is no doubt about that. But I don't know how he feels about the legacy that he left in this world. An atomic bomb, what happened in Hiroshima? Well, there could be political debates about that, but that is the result of his research and effort in this world. So, things to think about. What are we moving towards?
Katie, do you have any exciting news or any projects in the pipeline you like for my audience to get to know about?
Sure. Well, we talked a lot about decision making, first of all. So I want to say, if your audience is interested in that topic, I have a research paper on neuro-informed decision making for leaders under pressure, so that they can contact me and we can send them that research paper for anybody who is interested. And in 2024, we are having some groups, especially for women who want to be feeling supported with other women leaders. We have a 6 months program that is focused on the personal development. We look into the purpose, values, how they play a role in their leadership. And if they are interested in that kind of a program, I suggest that they contact me and we will send them the information.
Oh, sure. So you can forward, you can let us know about your contacts, your social media, and just on your website.
Sure. Yeah, I can send you my email address, and you can, and there's also my website that they can use to contact me. And
All
the
right.
LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn is a very good way of staying in touch. So if you like what you heard, I really suggest that you follow me on LinkedIn, because we share a lot of insight and research all the time via LinkedIn.
Right. Now we'll do the needful, Kathy. Thanks, Kathy Hadizadeh, an executive coach and an advisor to leaders in tech and engineering. Thanks for sharing your thoughts onto the show, especially talking about how we can slow down in a decision making for executives. Learning to slow down enhances decision making for executives. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on today's show. I wish you best of luck in the projects that you embark upon.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All right. If you'd like to catch up with any missed episodes of Live Well Lived, you can do so on any course promotion platforms or any distribution platforms. You can just go online and search for Live Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. And there you go. You do have a great time. Listen to experts, professionals, thought leaders share their thoughts and insight, disruptive in nature, on topics or subjects under personal development and self-improvement. Always, I need you to stay safe. I talk to you soon. This is Omobola Stephen. Talk to you soon once again.